I want you to just picture a scenario for a second. It is 4:45 p.m. on a Friday.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you're looking at the calendar, and there are exactly 3 days left in the quarter. You pull up your sales dashboard, expecting, or, well, maybe praying to see that you've hit the number, but instead, your stomach just completely drops through the floor. You are short, like significantly short.
That is a very physical feeling. I mean, I think anyone in business knows that specific drop in the stomach.
It's the absolute worst. And suddenly, you aren't a CEO or a VP of sales anymore. You're a firefighter. You're screaming at your team. You're calling in personal favors from like college buddies. You're just trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat to get one more contract signed before midnight on Tuesday. It is sort of the universal nightmare of the business world.
It absolutely is. We call it the revenue roller coaster. And here is the hard truth that most leaders honestly just don't want to hear. That panic. It isn't the sales problem. It isn't a hustle problem. It's a systems problem.
And that distinction is exactly why we're here today. We're doing a deep dive into a book that effectively re-architected how Silicon Valley sells. We're talking about Predictable Revenue by Aaron Ross and Marilu Tyler.
Right, which is often called the sales Bible of the SaaS world. And for very good reason. Because Aaron Ross didn't just, theorize this in some ivory tower. He actually built this system at Salesforce.com.
Yeah.
He helped them add $100 million in incremental recurring revenue in just a few years.
$100 million. I mean, that is not a rounding error. And the promise of the book is right there in the title, right? Predictable revenue. The whole idea is that growth shouldn't be this guessing game. It shouldn't be about luck or heroic last-minute efforts. It really should be a machine.
Exactly. The core thesis is that you can turn your sales organization into a literal mathematical formula. If you put X amount of activity in, you get Y amount of revenue out.
Yeah.
But, and this is really big, but to do that, you have to break almost every traditional rule of sales management that has existed for the last, 50 years.
So let's start with the biggest rule-breaking moment. Because for decades, the image of a salesperson was sort of the road warrior, right? The lone wolf who finds the lead, works the lead, closes the deal, and takes the client out for steaks.
The full-stack salesperson.
Right, the full-stack rep. And Ross basically comes out swinging and says the full-stack salesperson is dead. Or at least, they definitely should be.
He argues that the full-stack model is actually the single biggest impediment to growth. Just think about what you're asking that one person to do. You want them to prospect, which is really high volume, high rejection work.
Yeah.
You want them to qualify, which is super analytical. You want them to close, which requires high emotional intelligence and negotiation. And then you want them to manage the account, which is basically customer service.
You're looking for a unicorn.
Worse than a unicorn. You're asking a heart surgeon to also mop the floors and drive the ambulance. I mean, if you are paying an account executive a huge base salary and a fat commission to close deals, why in the world would you want them spending 4 hours a day navigating phone trees or, searching LinkedIn?
It's an efficiency nightmare. But beyond just the economics, the book makes a psychological argument too, doesn't it? That these tasks actually conflict with each other in the brain.
They do. Prospecting requires a totally different mindset than closing. Prospecting is all about quantity and resilience, and frankly, interrupting people. Closing is about empathy, listening, building trust. It is incredibly hard for a human brain to switch back and forth between hunter and gatherer 10 times a day.
And let's be totally honest, if you give any salesperson the choice between calling a warm lead who actually wants to buy or cold calling a total stranger who's probably going to hang up on them.
They will choose the warm lead every single time.
Every time.
Exactly. The prospecting always falls off the plate. And when prospecting stops, the pipeline dries up. And when the pipeline dries up, you are right back on the revenue roller coaster.
Okay, so if we kill off the full stack salesperson, what do we actually replace them with? Because the book proposes a very, very specific structure.
Hyperspecialization. Ross outlines 4 distinct roles, and the key here is that you absolutely cannot blur the lines between them. First, and this is really the star of the show, you have the sales development representative, the SDR.
Now, that term gets thrown around constantly in tech, but in this specific framework, what is the sole definition of an SDR?
Their job is outbound prospecting, period. They do not close deals. They do not manage inbound leads. They are the hunters. Their entire existence is dedicated to finding new business in completely cold accounts.
Okay, so that's outbound. What about the leads coming in through the website, like the people who actually fill out the Contact Us form?
That brings us to role number 2, the market response rep, or MRR. Now, most companies just mash these two roles together, but predictable revenue says that is a massive mistake.
Why is that? I mean, a lead is a lead, right?
Not at all. An inbound lead is hot. They want to talk to you right now. Response time is literally everything. An outbound lead is cold. You're interrupting their day. If you give both of those jobs to one person, human nature kicks in. They will always prioritize the easy inbound leads and ignore the really hard outbound work. You have to separate them to ensure the outbound work actually gets done.
That makes perfect sense. We take the path of least resistance. Okay, so we split the openers to inbound MRRs and outbound SDRs. Who catches the ball?
The account executive, the AE, these are your true closers of the quota carriers. In a perfect predictable revenue system, an AE literally never makes a cold call. Their calendar is just magically filled with qualified meetings set by the SDRs and MRRs.
Which sounds like absolute nirvana for a salesperson. You just show up and do the fun part.
It is, because they can focus 100% of their energy on high-value revenue-generating activities. And then finally, once the ink is dry on the contract, the customer is handed off to customer success for onboarding and renewals.
I love the analogy the book uses for this whole process. They compare it to a relay race.
Yeah, the pass the baton strategy. If you drop the baton, you lose the race entirely. But if you hand it off perfectly, you run faster than anyone else because everyone is just sprinting their specific leg of the race at top speed.
Right. Okay, so we've restructured the org chart. We have our SDRs ready to hunt. But before they pick up a phone or send a single email, the book warns that most companies fail right out of the gate because they don't actually know who they're looking for.
The ideal customer profile, the ICP.
And I feel like every business plan has an ICP section, right? Like, we target manufacturing companies with 50 to 500 employees. Check. Done.
And that is exactly what Ross calls lazy targeting. That's a demographic profile, not an ideal customer profile. If you just target everyone who fits those basic demographics, you're going to waste 90% of your time. You really need to get into the psychographics.
Give us an example of the difference there. What does a real ICP look like in this system?
Okay, so a demographic profile is VP of HR at a Fortune 500 company. But a predictable revenue ICP is a VP of HR at a Fortune 500 company who has just implemented a new payroll system and is absolutely terrified that the integration is going to fail.
Wow. Okay, so one is just a title and the other is a literal problem.
Correct. You have to answer the fundamental question, what keeps this person up at night? Because nobody buys software. They buy a solution to a panic attack. The book does mention a sort of sweet spot for targeting companies with 25 to 250 employees, often because they're big enough to actually have a budget but small enough to move fast. But honestly, regardless of size, if you don't know the specific pain, you do not have an ICP.
Okay, so once we have that clarity, once we know we are looking for that terrified VP of HR, we have to actually build the list. And the book talks about this concept of the layers of the onion.
Right. It's all about quality over quantity. The old way was just spray and pray, buy a list of 10,000 emails and blast them all at once. Ross says that completely destroys your brand and it burns your domain reputation, so your emails go straight to spam. You want to target high. The advice is very specific here. Don't target the decision maker directly. Target the person above them.
Wait, go higher. Isn't that harder? I mean, a CEO is way busier than a VP.
It is super counterintuitive. But this actually sets up the entire core strategy of the book, which is Cold Calling 2.0. And we should probably clarify something immediately because that name confuses a lot of people. Cold Calling 2.0 does not mean making more cold calls.
It effectively means the exact opposite.
It means prospecting into cold accounts without ever making a cold call. The primary weapon here is email, but not just any email. It's the referral approach.
This is the absolute secret sauce of the whole methodology. Walk us through the psychology here. Why am I emailing the CEO if I actually want to talk to the VP of sales?
Because you aren't trying to sell this CEO anything. You're just asking for a referral. The email is incredibly simple. You are essentially just asking who handles this at your company.
So the email isn't, hey, buy my software. It's, hey, help me find the right person to talk to.
Exactly. If you pitch a CEO, they delete it instantly. If you ask for 10 seconds of help, they very often respond. It relies on a basic social dynamic. Most people are actually pretty helpful by nature. But here is the real magic trick. When the CEO forwards your email down to the VP of sales and just says, hey, Bob, can you handle this? What just happened?
It's no longer a cold call from a random rep. It's a directive from the boss.
Exactly. You now have an internal referral. Bob is 100 times more likely to take your call because the CEO's office literally sent you. You've essentially borrowed the CEO's authority.
That is just brilliant leverage. Now, I know the listener right now is probably begging for templates. They want to know exactly what words to write. But there's a really interesting note in the source material where Aaron Ross explicitly refuses to give copy-paste templates in the book.
Yeah, I found that fascinating too. He argues that copy-pasting kills your authentic voice. If everyone uses the exact same template, the market just builds up an immunity to it. It stops working entirely. However, he does give us very strict rules for construction. So if you follow these rules, you can easily build the templates yourself.
Okay, let's break down those rules and actually try to build a few templates right now based on the system. Rule number 1 is short and sweet.
Short and sweet. It must look like a one-to-one email from a normal human being, not a marketing blast. That means plain text. No fancy HTML, no big logos, no graphics.
Why plain text, though? Because marketing departments love their HTML templates with the branded banners.
And that is exactly why they end up in the Promotions tab or the spam folder. A plain text email looks like it came from a colleague. A graphic email looks like it came from a robot. Ross points out that you should optimize for mobile. The book actually references BlackBerries, which definitely dates it a little bit, but the underlying principle is timeless.
Yeah, if I look at an email on my phone and I have to scroll endlessly, or if the formatting is all weird, I'm just deleting it.
The ultimate test is, can the prospect read it and understand what you want in 10 seconds? And to ensure that, they offer the golden rule of cold email. Ask only one simple question.
Just one.
Just one. Who is the right person? Or, is Tuesday at 2 p.m. good? If you ask 2 questions, decision fatigue sets in, and they just close the email and move on.
Okay, let's put this into practice. Let's do 3 quick templates based on these rules. Template 1, the classic CEO referral. What does that sound like?
It would literally be subject line. Quick question. Body. Hi, Sarah. I'm writing to see if you could point me in the right direction. Who is the person at your company responsible for handling payroll integrations? Thanks, Aaron.
That's it. Plain text. Super short. Okay, what about template 2? Let's say we are going direct to a peer or the actual decision maker, not asking for a referral.
Subject line. Quick question about payroll. Body. Hi, Bob. I noticed your team just expanded. How are you currently ensuring your payroll system syncs seamlessly with the new HR software? Open to a brief chat if this is a headache for you. Best, Aaron.
Notice there's only one question mark in that entire email, and it's focused purely on their pain. Okay, let's do template 3, which the book actually provides as the ultimate bad example, the thing you should never do.
The Me Monster email. It starts with, Hi, we are the leading provider of synergistic cloud-based solutions for enterprise resource planning.
Oh, delete.
Right. Me, no one cares. The referral email is about them. It's saying, I don't want to waste your time, just point me in the right direction. And the metrics back this up completely. In the Salesforce case study, they were targeting a 7 to 9% response rate with this exact method.
Which is astronomical in cold outreach. I mean, most people celebrate a 1% response rate.
A 9% response rate fundamentally changes the math of your entire business.
Okay, so we have the strategy. We're sending these short, plain text referral emails. But we can't just fire off 5,000 of them on a Monday morning and hope for the best. We need a cadence.
This is the predictable part of predictable revenue.
Yeah.
You have to aggressively control the volume. The book warns specifically, do not flood your team. The sweet spot for an SDR is 150 to 250 outbound emails per week.
That sounds incredibly low to anyone who is used to, these modern growth hacking tools that blast thousands a day.
It sounds low until you actually do the math. If you get a 9% response rate on 250 emails, that is over 20 real conversations. The goal is to generate 5 to 10 meaningful responses per day. If an SDR gets 50 responses in a single day, they physically can't handle them, they drop the ball, follow-ups get missed, and a missed follow-up is just wasted revenue.
Speaking of follow-ups, the book outlines a very specific timeline. They call it the 21-day campaign because obviously one email is never enough.
No, one email is basically useless. You need a system. Day 1 is purely evaluation, checking the map, making sure the account actually fits the ICP. Day 2 is the first touch. You send that referral email and make a quick phone call.
And if they don't answer, let's say it's day 5, we need our first follow-up template.
Day 5 is a value touch, not a pitch. You send an email like subject line. Quick question, body. Hi, Bob. Didn't hear back, but thought you might find this interesting. Here is a brief case study on how we fixed the payroll sync issue for another Fortune 500 company. Let me know if you want to chat.
Love that. Adding value, not just saying just checking in.
Never say just checking in. Then day 9 is another phone call. Day 16 is another email.
And what happens at day 21? We need the breakup follow-up.
Day 21, you break up, you recycle them, you send an email saying, "Hi, Bob. I haven't heard back, so I'll assume this isn't a priority right now. I'll stop reaching out, but feel free to let me know if things change."
And then you put them into a marketing nurture track, and you stop spending expensive SDR time on them. It's incredibly disciplined. It totally removes the emotion. You aren't sitting around hoping they call back. You're just executing the steps.
And there's also an anti-spam checklist you have to follow during this cadence.
Right, let's run through that quickly.
First, send your batches before 9 a.m. or after 5 p.m. You want to avoid the midday inbox clutter. Second, completely avoid Mondays and Fridays for your critical blasts.
Mondays are too busy catching up, and Fridays people are completely checked out.
Exactly. And third, log absolutely every single response in the CRM so you never accidentally email someone who already said no.
Okay, let's say the system works beautifully. You sent the email to the CEO, she forwarded it to Bob, and Bob replies to you and says, "Sure, I'm the guy. What do you want?" Now, and literally only now do we actually pick up the phone.
Right. But the mindset shift here is critical. You aren't cold calling Bob. You are following up on a referral. But even then, Ross warns, do not start selling your product.
This is the selling the dream concept.
Yes, you are selling the vision of a solution, not the actual tool. But practically speaking, on that first call, you are doing something else entirely. You're auditing them. The goal of the discovery call is not to close. It's to determine fit.
So you're disqualifying just as much as you are qualifying?
Exactly. A great SDR actually tries to disqualify quickly to save time. The short call script flow they recommend starts with respect. You open with, "Did I catch you at a bad time?"
Which gives them an out.
Right. Then you move to authentic curiosity. "Help me understand how you're handling X today." You probe for the pain. You peel back the layers. And only when the prospect admits they have a problem, when they say, "Yeah, honestly, our current payroll system is a disaster," only then do you position your solution.
You connect your solutions strictly to the specific pain they just admitted to.
Precisely. If they say they hate the user interface, you talk about your amazing UI. You don't start rambling about your back-end security features. You tailor the pitch to the pain.
Now let's talk about voicemails. Because even with a warm referral from the CEO, Bob still might not pick up the phone. The book gives us 3 specific voicemail scripts, and I really want to read these out because they are absolute gold.
They're very effective because they rely entirely on courtesy, not high-pressure sales tactics.
Okay, the first one is called the courtesy. It goes like this. "Hi, Bob. This is Aaron. I sent you an email a couple of days ago. Just hoping for a quick courtesy response. Thanks."
See, it's really hard to be rude to someone who is just politely asking for a courtesy. It triggers a deep social obligation in us to just reply.
The second one is the closure, calling to follow up. "I'd love to hear either way if you can help me out or not."
That one gives them explicit permission to say no. And psychologically, giving someone permission to say no actually makes them much more likely to call back, just to close the loop so they can stop thinking about it.
And then there's my absolute favorite, the mysterious script.
Oh, this one takes guts.
It goes, "Hi, Bob. This is Aaron. I'm free after 3 p.m. today. 555-0199. And then you hang up.
Notice what's missing. No company name, no pitch. Just a first name and a number.
It sounds like someone Bob is supposed to know, like you forgot a meeting or something.
Exactly. It creates a massive information gap. Curiosity kills the cat, but it definitely gets the call back.
Okay, so we've hooked Bob, we got him on the phone, we've done the discovery call, he has a pulse, he has the budget, and he definitely has a problem that we can solve. Now comes the moment of truth in this whole system, the handoff. This is where the baton passes from the SDR to the account executive.
And this is exactly where most civil wars start in sales organizations. The SDR says, "I sent you a great lead," and the AE says, "That lead was complete garbage."
How does predictable revenue solve that fighting? Because it's a huge problem.
With the double check rule. This is crucial for the metrics to work. The SDR does not get paid their commission just for setting the meeting. The opportunity is only considered qualified and therefore commissionable after the account executive speaks to the prospect and accepts the deal into their pipeline.
So the closer has veto power over the lead.
Yes. The AE is essentially the internal customer of the SDR. This forces the SDR to focus entirely on quality. They can't just toss junk over the fence to hit a monthly quota. They have to package the lead, provide detailed notes, and make sure it's a real, viable opportunity. Because if the AE takes the call and says, "Look, this person has no budget and no authority," the SDR gets zero credit for the meeting.
That alignment of incentives is so smart. It forces everyone to care about the actual final outcome, not just their little individual piece of the
It
process.
creates a culture of true accountability.
So let's zoom out for a second. We've built this specialized team. We have the psychographic ICP. We're doing email first referral outreach. We have a strict 21-day follow-up cadence. We're handing off qualified leads with this double check mechanism. What is the ultimate result of all this work?
The result is the formula. The book boils it all down to this equation. Revenue predictability equals the funnel plus average deal size plus time. You completely stop guessing. You can literally sit in a board meeting and say, look, if I hired 2 more SDRs today and they follow this exact cadence based on our historical conversion rates, we will generate $2 million in pipeline in exactly 90 days.
You're investing in a machine. You're not gambling on a person's individual hustle anymore.
Exactly. It becomes an engineering problem, not an artistic one.
But, and this is the final, very serious warning in the book, there's one variable in that formula that trips almost everyone up, and that is time.
Ramping. Leaders are incredibly impatient. They want results next month. But ROIC is very, very clear about the metrics here. If you hire an SDR today, it will take them 3 to 4 months to get fully ramped and comfortable, and then another 3 to 4 months to build a mature, producing pipeline. You are looking at a very real 4 to 8 month lag time before the cash register actually rings.
Man, that is a really tough pill to swallow when you are staring at a bad quarter and the board is breathing down your neck to fix it right now.
It is. It takes nerve. But Aaron Ross asked the question that pretty much shuts down that objection immediately. He says, if you had started this 8 months ago, wouldn't you love having that revenue right now?
That's the kicker, isn't it? The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is today.
You have to build the system before you actually need the revenue. If you wait until you are totally desperate, it's just too late. The roller coaster has already gone down.
So, for everyone listening to this right now, here is a thought for you to explore on your own this week. What if your absolute best closer is also your worst prospector? And by keeping them in that full stack role, you are actually losing money every single time they pick up the phone to make a cold call. I want you to audit your sales floor this week. Look at your team. Are your most expensive closers blindly calling strangers? Are you blasting generic HTML emails to people who don't care? If the answer is yes, you are riding the revenue roller coaster by choice.
It might really be time to stop the ride, get off, and actually build the machine.
Absolutely. Well, deep dive complete. Thanks so much for being with us today, and we'll catch you on the next one.